Are you relocating within the Greater Dayton area? Or maybe you live somewhere outside of the state of Ohio or even the Greater Dayton area, and you're wondering, what do the prices of the homes look like in this specific area? I want to focus on one specific price point so I can give you kind of a generalization of what to expect, whether your purchasing power is a little bit lower or even more. So today we're looking at what $500,000 can buy you in the Greater Dayton area. And welcome back. Hi, this is David Moyer with David Moyer Real Estate and Keller Williams Advisors here in Dayton, Ohio. And welcome to Inside Dayton Real Estate with David Moyer. I want to talk to you a little bit today about what does $500,000 buy in this market? What does it buy when you're moving to the Greater Dayton area? And that question can be answered by taking a look at some of our most popular cities and popular destinations for a lot of our clients when they move here to the area. And this means whether you're buying north of town, south of town, or even downtown, the type of home, the size of home, everything that you get is wildly different. So I think it's important to take a look at what your actual purchasing power can do for you based on your needs, based off of where you work, based off of where you want to live. Let's dive in. First, let's take a look at what you can buy for $500,000, give or take, in the city of Oakwood. Now, if you're not familiar with Dayton, Oakwood is just south of downtown Dayton. It is a highly desirable community here in the Greater Dayton area. People tend to move to Oakwood because of the school district, because of the walkability factor, a lot of mature trees, and a lot of historical properties. So, when we take a look at what can $500,000 buy you, take a look at this property, for instance. This property, it's sold for $481,000. It has approximately 1,800 square feet. And this represents a pretty typical home that you're going to find in Oakwood. Most of these homes were built in the 1920s, 1930s, all the way up until the 1940s. The appreciation rate in Oakwood is very consistent because the city itself is landlocked. This is not an area where we see new construction coming in to compete because it is surrounded by other cities. So it is kind of landlocked by its borders, which means the houses that are there, the inventory that is there remains constant. And what does that do? It drives up the appreciation. What you can see here, a classic Tudor style, is definitely indicative of what you can find in Oakwood, Ohio for $500,000. Now let's take a look at what we can buy just south of Oakwood. Butting up right to the borders of Oakwood is Kettering, Ohio. Kettering, Ohio is very similar to Oakwood in the fact that a lot of the homes that are there are the Cape Cod styles. We see a lot of Tudors and we see a lot of historical properties. However, there was a huge boom in Kettering back in the day when General Motors was one of our main automotive producers here in the Greater Dayton area. So we do see a lot of competition from more contemporary style homes up through the 1950s and the 1960s. This particular property sold for $530,000 and has around 2,300 square feet. So that's a little bit more than what you can get in Oakwood. Something to keep in mind, a lot of my relocation clients that are looking in both these areas sometimes will choose Kettering based off their needs and based off the school system because the taxes in Kettering can be a little bit lower than the taxes in Oakwood. And why is that? It's because Oakwood school systems have an incredible rating. But that's not to short Kettering whatsoever. Kettering also has a great school rating as well. Fantastic school system, fantastic arts program. So it just depends on what your family's needs are and what your budget is. Spending $500,000 in Kettering and $500,000 in Oakwood has a drastically different monthly mortgage payment. And that's something you want to keep in mind when you are relocating to the Dayton area. Now next up is a really popular part of the Greater Dayton area. Now we're going a little bit further south in Kettering, and this is in Centerville, Ohio. People will also consider this to be Washington Township. That's the township in which the city rests. Centerville becomes very, very popular not only because of the schools, but the park system that is there, a lot of shopping, a lot of dining, and also commuters love it because they have easy access to not only 75 north and south, but also 675. So we see a lot of people choose Centerville for their final destination. This home particularly sold for $491,000, and it is over 3,000 square feet. So if you've already been watching the video from the very beginning, you'll see that in Oakwood, the $500,000 price point got you around 1,800 square feet. In Kettering, it got you right around 2,300 square feet. Now that we're in Centerville, $500,000 is getting you in excess of 3,000 square feet. You're also going to find a little bit more land that maybe you could add a pool, fence in for a dog, fence in for the kids, and it has a definitely different feel. The walkability factor in Centerville is not quite as high as Kettering and definitely not as high as Oakwood, but if the school system and the area and this lifestyle is what you're looking for, a lot of people that relocate to Dayton consider Centerville to be the place to be, and if their budget is $500,000, this is a pretty good accurate representation. Okay, now we're going to go even further north in downtown Dayton. So far we've been going south, and a lot of our people that come to the area are military. They choose to live in areas like Beavercreek, Bellbrook, Centerville and Kettering, which we've already talked about, and also Vandalia. Vandalia is really popular for those that are in the military or those that are looking for perhaps a little bit more space, not only in terms of the house, but also in terms of the land in which they live. The area of Vandalia is also a great resource if you are somebody that comes and goes and wants to be close to the airport. Vandalia is the home of the Dayton International Airport. Now here, you can see a typical property in Vandalia, definitely going to be a little bit newer than what we've already been discussing. A lot of the homes there were built in the 50s and 60s, all the way up into the 80s and 90s, and there still to this day exists new construction in parts of Vandalia. So the age range of these homes is all across the board. This particular property in Vandalia sold for $480,000, so just below that $500,000 price point, and it boasts over 3,900 square feet. So you got almost 4,000 square feet in Vandalia for $500,000 versus if you were in Oakwood at 1,800 square feet. Both are excellent values, both have great appreciation. But once again, it boils down to what your family is looking for, and if they're looking for space, size. If you have 3 kids, 4 kids, and a dog, an 1,800 square foot home maybe is not going to work for you. And if you're someone that's also looking for potentially a full finished basement, an area like Vandalia is going to be a great place to consider as well, because obviously the older homes, those basements weren't necessarily built to be finished off. So here's a great representation in Vandalia. Okay, now let's talk about what you can get in downtown Dayton. We're just going to call this Dayton proper. If your budget is $500,000 and you want to live in downtown Dayton, this is a great representation of what you can buy. We've had a boom in the past 10 years of new construction actually in downtown Dayton, warehouses that have been transformed into condos, into lofts, and we also see, as you see here, brand new lofts that were developed by one of our premier contractors here in the Greater Dayton area. These properties have around 1,800 to 1,900 square feet. They have multiple floors with garages on the first floor, main living space on the second floor, bedrooms on the third floor, and sometimes even a rooftop that you can enjoy as opposed to having a backyard. So this property, which sold for $480,000, is right around 1,800 square feet. And your taxes are going to be much, much lower than if you lived out into the suburbs. So if you're somebody that likes to leave your house in the morning and walk to the coffee shop to get some coffee, walk to dinner, walk to a Dayton Dragons baseball game, living downtown is definitely going to be the vibe for you. And if this type of style is not really what you're looking for, but you still want to live downtown, I definitely encourage you to talk about some of the historical districts with your realtor that are available for you to explore as well. And we'll talk about that in another video and how you can take advantage of some of the rich history in downtown Dayton and make it yours. Now, there are so many suburbs here to the Greater Dayton area, so I can't go on and on and on. I could, but you probably wouldn't watch this YouTube video all the way to the end. But one of the last neighborhoods I want to talk about is Springboro, Ohio. Fun fact, Springboro is where I actually grew up and it's where I graduated high school. Springboro started off as a small Quaker farm community, and over the past 20 years has become a booming residential area for people that move there for the school districts, that want to have easy access to the interstate, and definitely want a little bit more land. This particular property sold for $512,000 recently and has approximately, wait for it, 4,300 square feet. Now that includes the basement, but 4,300 square feet for $500,000, that's an extraordinary deal. Plus the yard sizes here tend to be well over 1/4 of an acre, and in some circumstances 1.5 acres and then some. So if that's the lifestyle you're looking for, this is definitely something to check out. One nice thing about Springboro is about 20 minutes south of downtown Dayton and rests right on Interstate 75. You can easily access the interstate from anywhere you live in Springboro and get to downtown Dayton in 20 minutes, and vice versa. If you're looking to go to downtown Cincinnati, catch a Bengals game, catch a Reds game, that's only about 35 to 40 minutes away. So it's a great happy medium for those that are relocating to the Dayton area but still want access to other major metropolitan cities. Okay, so to wrap things up, I want to go over what we've talked about so far. If you are relocating to the area and you are thinking, where do I want to live, and this is my budget, and in this circumstance, $500,000 was your budget, then what we have to do is sit down, and I always do a buyer's consultation with all of my buyers, especially if they're relocating here from outside the area, and discuss what your needs are. Are you primarily focused on the school system? Are you focused on the amenities? Are you somebody that likes a walkability factor? Are you somebody that doesn't want to take care of a yard and you want to minimize that? Or are you somebody that doesn't want any rear neighbors whatsoever? You'd rather be a little bit further out into the country, have a little bit more land, have a few more options. Or do you not want an HOA, or do you want an HOA? Are historical homes your cup of tea, or is new construction your cup of tea? These are all things that you want to discuss with your realtor when you come into the area and you're trying to decide where you want to live. My recommendation would be, if this is your first time to Dayton, you get together with your agent and you take a tour. I do this all the time with my reload clients, with my military buyers that come here to the area. I take them out, I take them all the way from Springboro up to Vandalia, and we go over all the different ins and outs, pros and cons, and answer all the questions they may have. Then they can narrow down where it is they want to live, and we can go from there and focus on that neighborhood. So, a lot of options, a lot of different payment breakdowns as well based off of taxes and location. So these are all factors that you want to take into consideration. I am happy to talk about that. As always, if you want to reach out to me and talk about the Greater Dayton area, any of the different options that you may have, what one city is versus the other, and what style of home would best fit your needs, you can reach me at all the information below. Go to my main page there. You have all my contact information. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Blue Sky. All of my Linktree information is there. I also blog about this sort of stuff about twice a week, so keep an eye out for that as well. I'm happy to also keep you in the loop with any updates we have here for the Greater Dayton area. Just send me a DM or call me on my cell phone. You can also text me as well.